call this May 10th, 2022 regular meeting of the Burlington Board of Health to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm Dr. Ed Weiner, Chairman, and with me tonight are board members, Vice Chair David McSweeney, Mary Beth Welch, Andrea Sheehan, and Gail Demore. Also with us this evening is Susan Luminello, our Director of Public Health, Michael Green, Associate Director of Public Health, Health Agent Marlene Johnson, and Environmental Engineer Christine Mathis. Also recording this evening is Recording Secretary Eric Bergeron. Please note we are live on BCAT and available for appropriate comments and questions through this video technology. And thank you for BCAT for what you do for this community, keeping us all aware and so well informed. And thank you for last night. It was a trying evening for you. First, we have approval of minutes. We have two this evening. The first is April 12th, 2022.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve. Is there any discussion, any omissions, any additions? If not, I'll put that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. We also have this evening, April 26, 2022.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
There is a, under the application for approval for a special permit for 22 Terry Ave, Mr. McSweeney may have asked the same question, but I did also ask about outdoor storage of chemicals. Do you think we could add that?
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure if you
Okay.
did, but I did. Yep.
Yeah, I did, but that's fine. Doesn't.
Yep.
Are there any other comments? If not, could I have a motion to approve?
So moved with the amended change.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Maybe I should, for our recording secretary, name the people. Motion by, who was it? Mr. McSweeney? Second by Andrea Sheehan. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0-0. Thank you so much. Okay. Next is citizens' time. Is there anybody online or anybody here who is not on the agenda who would like to speak with this board? Susan, is there anybody?
No one.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to Chairman's report. For the Board of Health, so much has already and much more will take place during the month of May. I'll note a few issues and milestones and announcements. More details will come during the meeting. Last evening, our 2023 budget was passed during town meeting, and no changes were made to our important revolving account. Moving back to some normalcy, our health fair will take place on the Common May 21st from 10 to 1 p.m., hosting 50 community agencies, healthcare facilities, and companies. I hope you all are planning to attend. And tonight, we will hear about a grant opportunity that we were invited to host that could bring more than $1 million to this region. And last, we are always here to discuss any questions that you may have. Our website is a great resource, accessible to everyone, anytime, and most important, as you know, we are just a phone call away. Thank you. I always ask, is there anything that any board member would like to speak on this evening?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
I wanted to also make a note that you had stated in the early meeting, welcome. The minutes were extremely thorough and detailed. Great job. Thank you so much.
I wish we could have a camera so he could wave. But unfortunately, actually, you are on,
It
wave.
looks like he doesn't want to, though.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Memory Place, Susan.
Next is applications. 1 Burlington Mall Road, site plan and special permit, proposed life science building and life science use applicant, Lincoln Property Company. Who is speaking for? Mr. Buckley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Why don't I give an overview first, and then I'll turn it over to co-counsel Paul Alphen from the,
Mr. Buckley, I just want to mention something else here.
Uh-oh.
There is a 1 Burlington Mall Road site plan and special permit also for parking alterations.
Yes.
And again, that's applicant Pyramid Hotel Group. So as we talk about one, you may want to mention
that's
the
why I
other.
think, yes, I'll give an overview. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We give an overview of what we're doing, and welcome, Gail.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
I represent the Pyramid Hotel Group, and my client, Spiro Cantanonis, is on the web, and Paul represents Lincoln Property Group. The project is essentially, I like to describe it as we did at the subcommittee meeting and this morning at the DCM meeting. It's a 3-step process. The first is we're creating 2 new lots. And Mark, I don't know if you could share your screen and bring it up.
Can everyone see that?
Yes, yep. Okay, we're creating 2 lots. The first lot is, I'll call it the hotel lot, which is the existing Marriott Hotel. And the second lot will be the lower parking area, which is by and large vacant, but for some third-party lessees that use the lot for storage of vehicles, either because of their operations or other locations in town that have overflow parking. So you can see the lot lines are being delineated on the plan there. So to the naked eye, if you're on Mall Road, you would see nothing different other than the development of the lower parcel, because the main entry to the hotel will stay as is. There'll be an easement that will allow entry there. Our frontage for the hotel lot will be taken on the rear parcel, or the rear lot line, which is now our frontage, Burlington Woods, which is an approved subdivision way. So this is an A&R plan, it's not a subdivision, it's creating 2 legal lots. The alterations to the hotel site would consist of some entry improvements to separate and clearly delineate pedestrian versus vehicular traffic. And we will be adding a sidewalk to the Burlington Woods Road to permit pedestrian access, ultimately to other amenities throughout the park, as well as wayside commons. The lower lot will be developed in conformity, I'm sorry, let me just step back. The special permit applications you have before the town right now are required because by splitting the lots as we've done, the hotel lot currently has 2 non-conforming components. One is the floor area ratio, and the second is parking. So by doing this, obviously, you're eliminating lot area, so obviously the ratios are going to change in terms of the FAR. So we have to, by special permit, extend the existing nonconformity. As to the parking, we have sufficient parking for the hotel, but in the event that we do not, or vice versa, if the lab needed existing parking, we will have a reciprocal parking agreement between the 2 parcels to share parking. As I had said this morning, and I've said previously, I think in my 30-plus years, close to your 34, Dr. Weiner, I've only parked in that lower lot once. So it's excess parking, and this is putting that to a productive use. I think it's important also for the board to realize we're not eliminating or altering green space. In actuality, we're actually creating about 9,000 square feet of additional pervious surface, which will increase the ability to treat stormwater runoff and provide some other landscaping around the perimeter to make an attractive site for the arrival. I don't know if you want to add anything, Paul?
I'm Paul Alphen with Alphen Santos in lovely Westford, Massachusetts. The lab lot, the lot on the right, will comply in all manner with the zoning bylaw. It requires special permits because although life science is an allowed use in the innovation district, life science with manufacturing requires a special permit. And although we don't have a tenant yet, Lincoln Properties, our client, Lincoln Property Company, our client, has experience in this industry and has found a great demand for a life science in Greater Boston. And they have a feel for the type of tenant that would want to be in this space. And they know that they will ultimately, most likely ultimately be involved in manufacturing. And similarly, we've applied for the special permits associated with the use of certain hazardous materials that are used customarily in this industry. We recognize that depending upon who the applicant is and who the ultimate tenant is, that we may have to come back to the Board of Health if a bio license or permit is required from the Board of Health, depending upon who ends up being the tenant and what uses they bring to the property. But in all other respects, the property is going to comply with the dimensional requirements, the height requirements, the number of parking spaces, setbacks, all of that is in compliance.
And if I could add, this board as well as the planning board in the town, we went through a similar exercise with respect to 25 Network Drive, which within 2 or 3 months of it being permitted, we had two similar type of uses, which is lab and GMP uses there, and with Broad and Vericel. So Burlington is a very attractive market right now, and will continue to be so. This is a cluster that was being developed both in Burlington Woods and elsewhere in town. And the hotel is extremely supportive of this because the hotel is an amenity that is going to be able to capitalize in a synergistic way on all the activity that's being developed in and around here, including Leahy Clinic. So, you know, as we all know, the Marriott's been a long-standing fixture in this community, both from a commercial standpoint and also from a civic standpoint. So this is really in their best interest, and they're very supportive of that. We have some renderings of the concept of how it would look. I don't know, Mark, if you can show those. And while he's doing that, I would like to, you know, for the other board members, we had a subcommittee meeting and went through, we've been in touch with staff and gone through all the issues.
Ms. Luminello, on the agenda for this evening, there wasn't a listing for a subcommittee minutes?
Yeah, but you can give the subcommittee report, and we included that with the board materials for whoever the board member is that is going to give the report.
So I just mentioned that to my colleague, Vice Chair, and he is going to do a subcommittee report. So let's take a look at the rendering. Is that an artist rendering?
No, this is
This is an as.
right.
This is as-built now.
Well, the building has been placed on the site, but
Yeah.
I'd like to point out before you get too deep into it that if you look at the parking lot, you can see there's ample parking. So this is a rendering showing the placement of the building from a massing standpoint.
So before we have any questions on the parking, why don't we do a subcommittee report?
Yeah, real brief. We met, I think it was last week, right? For a solid hour. The applicant came very well prepared and addressed ahead of time proactively all the questions and concerns that we typically normally ask in these types of situations. The special permit for the life sciences, I think is a normal request that we've seen The last two or three, there's no necessarily a tenant right now. But yeah, I do think it's appropriate for this location and for the building that they're putting in. This is, as you know, you should know that wasted parking space right now, ton of just dead spots. So I do think it's going to improve the location personally. For the building itself, and I think Mr. Buckley mentioned this, that they're actually reducing the impervious surface area by 9,000 square feet in. They're putting in a stormwater management system which doesn't exist today. So it is going to improve the water flow and the water runoff there. I do think this is going to be an improvement to the site. Both Ed and I were on the subcommittee. We did ask a bunch of questions which were adequately answered and addressed, and we both approved or recommended approval to approve both special permits. I do want to say that I do want to see, I asked about the flowers of M, and I want to see that go on, because somebody even said it on the call that McSweeney, I wanted to buy there as we drive. But in all seriousness, both the applicants were very well prepared, and I do think this is a win-win for everybody involved.
Mr. McSweeney, you do know if you look at it from the other side, it's a W for Weiner.
How did I know?
Touche,
How did I
Mr.
know that was coming?
It's not for Welch?
Oh, well, thank you. I stand corrected.
Actually, it looks like an S or a D. Could you go back to could you go back to just the picture of the parking lot, please? I just had one quick question that popped up. Is there any way to go back to that?
What, the site plan?
Yeah, can you just go back? That's it. The red, is that gonna be,
That's the lot line,
that's a lot line.
right.
Is there going to be a named road, or?
No,
That's just going to
that
be.
is not, that's just a
Like a
lot
property
line
line?
with a cross easement.
Okay, so it's not across easement, that's not gonna be a roadway.
Those accessing the lower lot will come in, loop around the thanks.
Okay,
Thanks, Mark.
so it's a
Yeah,
A loop around and hook to the right.
yeah.
it's a
that's
driveway for all intents and purposes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I have had an hour with Mr. McSweeney asking questions, and I'm very satisfied with the parking lot. Is there anybody else who has any questions about that before we go on? And we're going to take these separately.
Yeah, so just one comment about that. So we have them listed on the agenda separately. We, as staff, Christine, had comments on the first one, the proposed life science building and the life science use.
Yes.
The second one, as far as parking alterations, since it's not a Board of Health issue,
Right.
there's no drainage involved with that, we have no comments on that.
Okay, still gonna take a vote on it.
Yes,
So let's take a vote on that one first. Can we do that, or do they have to be in order?
you can do that.
Okay, so do I have a motion for the 1 Burlington Mall Road site plan and special permit, parking alterations, and the applicant is Pyramid Hotel Group?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mary Beth Welch. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Andrea Sheehan. Any other comments? If not, all in favor? Aye. 5-0-0. Now, which takes us to 1 Burlington Mall Road, site plan and special permit, proposed life science building and life science use. The applicant is Lincoln Property Company. And again, I have spent quite a bit of time on this. There are 8 conditions, as you have seen. The condition that is most important to me is number 3, and I'm satisfied with the 8. Have you seen the 8?
We have,
And do you agree with the 8?
we do.
Okay,
Would you like to see the building? Or
we're
rendering?
getting there, let's just, taking this in order, you know I'm very organized. Now you can show me the building.
Okay. Mark, if we could show, so these are conceptual renderings with, the building is, that's a massing diagram, and if we could go on. That's what it, one of the arguments that I think it bodes well for this is as you come off the exit ramp from 128, this is one of the first impressions you'll see when you come into Burlington. And therefore, I mean, as this industry morphs and becomes a mainstay, it really will be a landmark for purposes of, what Burlington has done over the last 5 or 6 years through the effort of the Board of Health to capture this market. So kudos to the board. Okay, Mark, and then this gives an idea of what the building will look like. So you can see it sits very nicely on the site there. And one thing I was remiss in the beginning, this is zoned in the Innovation District, so this is a permitted use.
That's great.
Like new and modern.
So we are done, Mr. Chairman.
I have asked my questions, which have led to the 8 conditions, as part of this also was Mr. McSweeney. Does anyone have any other questions? You've seen the conditions for the applicant. I just want to point out for the community, because this will answer a lot of questions, and that is number 3 of the proposed conditions. Prior to site work and construction, the applicant property owner must appear at a Board of Health meeting to provide details regarding treatment, management of wastewater, chemical hazardous waste storage management, outdoor storage of chemicals, and site security measures. If applicable, the applicant property owner must adhere to Town of Burlington Control of Toxic and Hazardous Materials bylaw, which is Article 14, Section 2.14, and prior to operation, submit a hazardous material registration form, as we call HMRF. So prior to construction, they will be back in front of us when they have an applicant and they know exactly what's going to be there.
For presentation and information purposes.
Yes,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
just can I make a comment on that, actually? Because I think it's important for everybody to know or to understand, as we're going through these, I think the last 4 or 5 of these permits that we've been going through, we don't actually have a tenant in place, right? So the contractor are coming to us looking to get the permit in hand, saying that this is zoned or this is for biotechnology use. And I got to say that when with the first one that came through, I was a little leery, but now that we're doing these, I do consider it really important that we are approving these types of things ahead of tenants, because it does, in my opinion, bring in the cream of the crop from the biotech industry into town, knowing that they don't have to go through that permitting process, so they can actually market that permit ahead of time. So I just want to make a comment that it's important that we have that condition in there, but I do also want to stress the importance of granting these permits ahead of who the tenant is coming into town.
And
Mr. Chairman, can I comment
it
on that?
does say prior to site work. I just want to make sure that the applicant knows. Yes.
Mr. McSweeney is absolutely right, because it allows for an advantage in the marketplace. But more importantly, what has happened over the years with Burlington and developing your regulations, those prospective users look at your regulations and they understand that you understand their business. So that doesn't scare them away. Where you run into problems is when you go into a community and they have no clue what you're proposing or how to regulate it. So these are very sophisticated, as you've sat through a number of these over the last couple of years. There's a degree of comfort from the users that you understand the business, you understand how to regulate the business. They're not afraid of regulation. What they're afraid of is that those that don't understand what they do, which leads to bad decisions. Thank you.
And just as I made this comment, there are more than a dozen other federal and state agencies also that are looking at this type of industry. So although it's locally, it's a Board of Health, and we take the initiative and the responsibility, there are more than 12. I count up to 20 different agencies that these companies are very, very aware of and know how to fill out forms and whatever. So, any other questions? So do I have a motion for 1 Burlington Mall Road site plan and special permit, proposed life science building and life science use?
So moved with the documented 8 conditions, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second by Gail Demore. Any other comments? Okay, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0-0.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your, thank you for your
Wait,
consideration.
wait, mister, welcome to Burlington.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have anybody else with you tonight? Please introduce them.
Yeah, just Scott Faber with Lincoln Property Company.
Okay,
Nice to meet everyone.
okay. Is there anybody online? Nope.
Mark and Sparrow,
Mark? What is Mark's role?
he's our site civil engineer.
Site civil engineer.
Great.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Okay. Variances. Okay, I guess it's OK Dog, 3 Concord Road, external grease interceptor. Is that, who is that? Please come up.
So the owner is on your right, and he has somebody that's going to be translating for him.
Great.
Okay,
Great.
I'm the general contractor. My name is Arnold, CO.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
Arnold, A-R-N-O-L-D, Arnold.
Okay,
Last name is S-E-O,
S-E-O.
CO. Is the business owner.
Yeah, Alex Cho,
And how do you spell that? Do you-
A-L-E-X,
Okay,
and last name is Cho. Actually, my the original name is the Dongwu, but go by English name the Alex.
okay, that's fine.
The Dongwu too.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, will you presenting?
Sure. So
Presenting will be Marlene Johnson,
So
our
I'll-
health agent.
I'll give the board a background. So we have a new business coming into H Mart, and it is called OK Dog. The menu is attached to your paperwork. Basically, it's going to be various types of hot dogs. And there is an existing external grease interceptor there that the existing food court restaurants are tied into. But this location is in another area of H Mart, so it's not practical to tie in. So they are before you tonight, or the owner is before you tonight to request a variance. That's from Section 4, Part A of the regulations for installation of an external grease interceptor. Their variance application is attached. My recommendation to the board is to vote to approve the variance from Section 4, Part A, and allow the new food service establishment to operate without installing an external grease interceptor with the following condition. The food service establishment operator and the property owner both understand that this variance may be subject to revocation, suspension, or expiration as determined by the Board of Health. A variance under these regulations may be revoked, modified, or suspended only after the food service establishment has been notified in writing and given an opportunity to be heard at a regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Health. Reasons for revocation, modification, or suspension of variance include, but are not limited to, a determination that the food service establishment is discharging grease in quantities sufficient to cause sanitary sewer line blockages or increase maintenance of sewer lines. The owner did receive a copy of this, as well as the sewer manager at H Mart.
Okay. Do you understand that, Mr. Cho and Mr. Seo?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you understand exactly what she wrote.
Yeah.
You also understand you must keep very detailed logs for cleaning the...
Interior,
The interior.
interior grease
And
interceptor.
please, we don't want you back here because we will revoke it and you'll have a problem. Does anybody have any questions?
Just one question, Mr. Chair,
Sure, please.
or maybe more than one. But one, is there a friolator gonna be used?
I can't remember.
Is there a fryer later?
Fryer?
Fryer.
Yeah, like a
Yes.
deep fryer?
Yeah, deep fryer we are using.
Okay, so like French fries? or
Yeah,
stuff?
French fry. Actually, we put the
Potatoes.
hot dog in it, and then we fry like
Right,
three
yeah.
3 to 4 minutes. So,
Does that add any concern to, you don't have any concern with that
No,
stuff? Okay.
as long as their interior grease interceptor is being serviced on a regular basis, it
Shouldn't
shouldn't
it be
be
any
an
cause
issue.
of problem?
No.
Okay, great,
Any
thank you.
other- Any other questions? I have a couple questions. The hot dogs, are they beef or are they pork, or are they a mixture?
actually, we have the two different kind, and one is just only beef, and another one is kind of mixed with chicken and pork.
Chicken and pork?
So we make the sausage, and then we put the batter outside and put in the fryer, and then you fry like
Okay,
3
because
to 4 minutes. I think you guys never tried before.
No.
It's Korean
No
food.
samples?
Lately, a lot of Americans, interested in, K-food, which is the Korean food. I mean,
we have the menu. The menu is fascinating.
It looks good.
Yeah, the menu is
I
fascinating.
mean, mostly, actually, our franchisees, in the New York already, we opened like the 8 places.
8 places.
Yeah, and also, the Texas, we have like the 11, places. So it's really crazy right now. So I mean, I hope in the Boston, in the Burlington, especially, a lot of people like it.
Thank you. I have no problem. I think it's been, clearly, the condition is clearly listed. We've approved these before. If not, do I have a motion? I have a motion by Mary Beth Wells, second by?
Second.
Second by Gail Demore. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Welcome to Burlington.
Thank you.
You're going to be in the H Market.
Inside.
H Mart, inside.
Yes.
Thank you. I've eaten there a number of times. Thank you. Very good. Thank you
Thanks
for
so
coming.
much.
If I attend the next time, then I'll give you the free coupons, and then you can, welcome, anytime. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Come.
thanks very much.
Okay, so that's this one. And the next one is Bombay Chaat. Did I pronounce it correctly? Please come up.
I can feel it. I'm like, oh my God.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, all board members.
Okay,
Thank
what
you
is your
for
name?
having me here.
And you are Nitin?
Nitin, yes.
Nitin Katra, is that how?
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Our health agent?
Sure, so Mr. Katra, he currently has a business here in Burlington. He's been here for many years in Spiceland Supermarket, within the same plaza. So he is looking to open a takeout restaurant, and the menu's attached. He is seeking a variance, also from the same regulation, Section 4, Part A, the installation of an external grease interceptor. He doesn't own, he owns the space he's in, but he doesn't own the property to dig it up and put in an external grease interceptor. So he's seeking a variance. My recommendation to the board is to vote to approve the variance from Section 4, Part A, and allow the new food service establishment to operate without installing an external grease interceptor with the following condition. I won't read it, it's the same condition that I just read a few minutes ago.
Mr. Katra, did you hear the
Yes.
last time?
Yes.
And you agree?
Yes, we 100% agree, and Marlin have a good experience with us, so,
Okay. And
Excellent.
lastly, you understand about the log?
Yes,
And
we do.
maintenance, because that's how you get into trouble. Keep the maintenance log up.
no, I hear that what you say to those guys, so I agree with that. And I don't want to come back again for that reason. I want to come back for something different reason.
You haven't seen her mad.
I've seen her mad.
Yes,
When we opened the business in 2006, I saw her really mad first time. After that, I haven't seen mad her all the time.
Never again.
And she can give us our example to all grocery owners and all small businesses, how we running down there, what kind of stores we are doing there. I think since 2007, she don't have even one single complaint about us.
Yeah.
So we know what we're doing, we follow her, and we live in a great town. We have to keep the nice and clean.
Thank you.
And this is where I am.
Marlene, where is this exactly located?
So,
For credit union, right?
Yes,
right in that plaza.
That plaza.
There's-
On the
there's-
end to the left?
So
Start the
the space
Crestwood.
he's going to take over is on the end. It used to be an insurance agency.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The
they
insurance
moved out.
business moved it to the Wilmington. that
And your
station.
first door is to the left of it? by the
Corner.
view- Oh, in the
Used-
corner. by
Used
the
to
view-
used to a China merchandise there,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it just takeout, or can you eat in this?
No, just take out, yeah.
And it's all vegetarian?
So far, we are planning to vegetarian, but we have one of the partner getting added in. He may gonna use, but not right now, so not for the upcoming year or something like, there's nothing non-veg, most of vegetarian, yeah.
Vegetarian, okay.
Yeah, the menu looks great, it looks nice and.
Yeah, it's nice actually, we are planning to do the more like a easy, like bake and boil kind of things,
Yeah,
no
sure.
too frying or something. We do have some of these little item with the fry one, but not too much.
Yeah.
Try to make the healthy food and
Looks
just
terrific.
quick grab and go, because we have so much requirements there, and around surrounding the store area, there's just so much customer base is there, and we don't have the source to get the food right away, and this is what we plan to do, and mainly we wanna do takeout, and that solve a lot of issues,
Yeah,
yeah.
great. That's great.
Uh, is there seating inside?
No,
No seating inside?
no.
Okay.
So a take and go, yeah.
I have no other questions. Does anyone have any? Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mary Beth Wells, second by?
Second.
Second by Andrea Sheehan. No other questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
500. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
very
coming.
much, really appreciate it, yep. Have a
Okay,
good
when
evening.
are you opening?
End of the June or first week of July.
Oh, great.
Yeah, basically, we have a lot of equipment, like 3, 4 equipments on a schedule,
Yeah,
but due to those COVID and those things getting so much delays, and
sure.
hopefully we have some correction from the building department, so we have to change some planning and those things. Working with building department, we were just waiting for this and then we can move it ahead, yeah.
Awesome. Well, good luck.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Brings us to staff reports. Health agent, we haven't, well, we've seen you a bit, but Marlene Johnson, thank you for coming.
Sure. I wanted to let the board know I had my annual pool operator seminar with the pool operators in Burlington. And it was virtual, 14 attended, so that's a good attendance. Next year, we hope to be back in person. And I am working with the National Environmental Health Association. I'm part of their working group. So we are working on a guidance document for ghost kitchen. So ghost kitchen is somebody who, we don't have any in Burlington yet, but it's somebody who comes into town, they use a kitchen, a licensed kitchen, so it might be an existing restaurant that might not be operating during lunchtime. And so the ghost kitchen, they come in, they use the kitchen when the other operator's not using it. They make a product and they can either sell it like takeout at that location, or they can take it to another location and sell it if they're operating off of like a cart in a mall or something to that effect. So right now, it's pretty new. So there really isn't any regulations out there. So that's why I'm part of this working group. And there are folks from all over the country. We meet once a month, and so we're working on this document. So it's pretty interesting to be able to contribute towards that. Samantha and I are continuing to work on the retail program standards. We are working with mentors. So our mentors that we're working with, there are 2 of them. They're from Marlborough, Connecticut. And so we went down for 2 days, and they had a great presentation, great training. Samantha and I were there. There were 2 health departments from Massachusetts and then 2 other health departments from Connecticut that are part of this group. So they went over all 9 of the standards. Some of the other folks in the group are working on other standards, so it was really beneficial for all of us to be there. And I'm gearing up for the pool inspections. Samantha and I are going to do the pre-operation pool inspection, so getting ready to do that. That'll be coming up. Within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to get to all the outdoor pools for inspection.
Any other questions? Yes.
Finally, on your report, the potluck event, we don't require
So I think that was under communications, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so phone calls. So one of the churches in town was advertising that they were going to have a dinner, so I contacted them just to find out exactly what they were doing. So it's potluck. So potluck in Massachusetts does not require a permit. It just requires that they notify the people who are coming that the food nor the facility is inspected by the local Board of Health. So,
Just a comment, Mr. Chair. Marlene, I love, maybe I shouldn't love it, but I love that, I see a couple of new restaurants that newly opened under reinspection, which I actually think is a good thing. That just shows that we give them time to settle in, and that we're inspecting them, and we're showing them how we do it here in Burlington, which
Right.
I think is a really good thing.
so what I do with new restaurants, so that was a part of the pre-operation inspection, so there's nothing really going on, it's just
Sure.
like kind of all brand new. For the reinspection, I think there was something missing, might have been maybe signs for their hand wash sink or something like that. But what I do is once their food permit is issued, I go back 30 to 60 days after for that reason. So
That's
that
great.
way they can work out the kinks and get the help trained, and then we kind of set the expectation when we go in and do that first inspection. We're really tough on them, so that way, the bar's up here,
Yeah, that's,
so.
well, and, I
think
mean,
he was-
he was just even saying the same thing as
Yeah.
Spiceland,
Yeah.
just when they first opened, so
Yeah.
I love that, so
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Good, thank
Any
you.
other questions? I have one, just caught my eye. Diane, J.C. Diane, or Diane J.C.,
Oh.
egg batter from,
She's
it was,
looking at
she's a member of, she's principal inspector, Boston Health Department.
Right.
Egg batter,
So I contacted a colleague who works for the Boston Health Department because I came across something unusual in the field, and it was batter that they needed to keep out at room temperature, which is not a problem because they can use time as a public health control. But it was the length of time that we were determining how long it could stay out there. So I reached out to a colleague, and, because I thought, well, why don't they use, so I should back up. The batter contains raw shelled eggs, so that's the issue. If it didn't have eggs, it's a non-issue, but it has eggs, raw eggs. And they weren't pasteurized eggs. So I reached out to a colleague and asked her if she had any similar operations, and she did. And we talked about the potential of using pasteurized shelled eggs, but it changes the consistency because it's a leavening factor. So because they're pasteurized, so the shelled eggs may not work the same. So it was helpful because I was able to at least talk to the operator and say, okay, so here's what you need to do. You need to use this amount of time if you're going to use the unpasteurized eggs. And if you're going to try the pasteurized eggs, do a small batch. Make sure it works for you, because it may not. So she chose to use the shorter period of time for the batter, so.
do they need a variance? Okay.
No, the food code doesn't require a variance anymore for time as a public health
Oh, it does
control.
not require a variance?
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they just need to have something in writing. They need to let us know, and they have to have it in writing.
Excellent. If there's not, do I have a motion, please, to approve the health agent's report?
Motion approved.
I have a motion by Andrea Sheehan, second by? Second by Mary Beth Welch. No other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 500. Thank you. Environmental engineer, Christine Mathis.
Good evening. Couple of highlights. Building on what Attorney Buckley said earlier, I attended Leahy's IBC last week, and at the end of the IBC, before I was leaving, they asked me about new biotech coming to Burlington. They currently have a biological safety permit from us, and they've had the longest-standing RDNA / biological
And
safety.
who's that with?
Leahy.
Leahy, yeah.
And so I was highlighting for them the list of recently permitted biotech, those that are in the permitting process, and those that we know of because they've come for special permits. And when I commented that the Broad Institute was moving their genome project to Burlington, both of the principal investigators at Leahy were absolutely amazed and said, "This, do you know what we're getting?" And they said, "This is huge," and that the Broad Institute would choose Burlington. And one of the PIs said, one of the doctors said, that he thought it was likely because of our biological safety regulations, which obviously was one of the things that helped us get platinum rating, but they're very complimentary about our regulations and our, board and staff knowledge. And when I was listing off the name, they were also not aware that Moderna was here. And they were, eyes widened when I was going over the list, so that was pretty neat.
Awesome.
The other thing that I wanted to highlight was 210 Fox Hill Road. They, I did the last violation letter and fine, and upon my inspection, my second visit, they had corrected it, and we got the report that they had paid the fine. So,
I had spoken to that individual at great length.
yep,
Did you speak with this person?
he never.
The
he didn't-
homeowner?
I had spoken to the homeowner at the request, and, I speak to, and I had a very nice talk with him. I also spoke with the town engineer, the DPW town engineer, and he had a potential solution and offered to speak to this individual. Well, I called him, we had a very long talk, and he was referred to the town engineer, and I gave him his individual phone number, his private phone number, and hopefully, they're gonna work something out.
That's great.
So, according to the town engineer, that this whole situation can be corrected. It will cost the homeowner a certain amount of money. How much did he say? About $5,000?
For the 5,000,
$5,000, they could tie in to the
sewer.
to the sewer, the catch basin, and we left it at that point. But as chairman, our director and environmental engineer asked me to make some calls once in a while, and I do. It works out well. So, do I have any other questions? I just want a quick question, because I should have asked, and I didn't. HHW invoice, how, did we do okay?
yes.
Off the top of your head, do you know?
I think the large component, which is always the chemical portion of it,
Yes.
the actual hazardous waste portion of it, I believe the invoice was 12,000.
So we did okay, so we came in under budget for
Yes.
2022.
Correct.
Good, perfect, that's what we wanted. Do I have a motion to approve the environmental engineer's report?
So moved?
I have a motion by Mr. McSweeney, second by?
Second.
Second by Ms. Welch. All in favor? Aye, 500. Next, we have the Associate Director of Public Health. Mr. Green.
Board, I'd like to just highlight tonight Stilla. They're a diagnostic biotech company that's coming into town at 20 Blanchard. They are a support laboratory, so other biotech companies can develop assays specific to what they're working on using the Stilla technologies, I think digital PCR and some other technologies they have. So they're planning on having a training, developing component to their location where instead of having to go to all the other companies to display what they do and to train them up, they're gonna have them come to their facility and do it that way. So there were a bunch of questions about the biological safety permit, if it was needed, but they're not doing any work with regulated agents. They're not gonna be operating at a BSL-3 level, no select agents, anything like that. So just for all intents and purposes, more of a diagnostic training laboratory. So they did give us that in writing, and we did give them just some, for the planning special permit, just some staff comments.
They don't need to come before the board?
No.
You have a still inquiry has reviewed the biological safety regulation, has determined that we do not meet them and will not in the future. They will not meet what the,
The biological regulations, so they're not working with any recombinant synthetic nucleic acid, any select agents, or working at a BSL-3 level, so just HMRF registration for us.
any other questions? And I see that you're developing an IBC meeting checklist. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, under our director's direction, we're doing an IBC meeting checklist. We're also doing a permit review checklist to streamline those two components, because we are getting busy with the biotech.
You think? Thank you very much. Any other questions? If not, could I have a motion to approve the Associate Director of Public Health report?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Sheehan, second by? Second by Ms. Demore. All in favor?
Aye.
500. Which brings us to the Director of Public Health. Now, that'll also include the Associate Health, the Associate Health Inspector, that is Samantha Hardy's report, and Supervisory Nurse Christine Pollock. As we've done in the past, we'll take this all together. First with the Associate Health Inspector's report. Does anybody have any questions?
Comment?
Comment?
So I noticed that Lord Barron was on her report this week for another complaint.
I don't believe that was an additional complaint.
It's the same one?
Same.
Yeah, I think it was just calling them to follow up with the tenant.
yeah.
You never heard back from that tenant.
Yeah, that's fine. So just a comment that we are scheduled, I think, to have a subcommittee meeting
Yes,
on.
Andrea.
The 18th.
Yeah.
And we kind of expanded the purview of the subcommittee to include all
Yeah, just to look at the,
housing,
right,
or, apartment housing in town.
yeah.
And we'll make recommendations, Mr. Chairman, based upon that subcommittee.
Great.
If anything comes out of it.
And who is, are you on the subcommittee? Who else is?
I am, Andrea, yeah.
Andrew?
I just had a question about Lord Barron. Are they ever individually owned, or is it,
No.
Not Lord Barrow, that's a rental.
okay, I wasn't sure.
It's Hallmark. That's rentals.
So, nothing with Samantha Hardy. Let's go on to the Supervisory Nurse. Do you have anything to
She just, last week just gave the rest of our COVID booster vaccine out, so we now, no longer have the COVID booster. We were able to give out 18 of the 20 doses that we had. That was one vial, so once you open the vial, it has to be used up, so. And that went well. And, she's working with the schools on giving vaccination to the students. That's been going well. Our temporary agent forms have been working out. That's what our policy that we developed with town council, so that if a student's parent or guardian were not present, they could still get vaccinated. So that they actually use some of the temp agent forms. So that's working out. So she's been going to the schools on a regular basis to vaccinate kids. And it's basically been just, I think, every Monday now, to make sure they all get vaccinated, so that's working out well.
I saw the transfer from Woburn Pediatrics of,
Yeah, so that's the Vaccine for Children program, so we
Yeah.
can transfer vaccine back and forth with anyone who's in that program.
that's awesome.
Yeah, part of the issue with us is when we order from DPH, you have to order so many vaccines, and we don't always give out that amount of vaccines, so if we don't give them out, they expire and they get wasted if we can't get someone to take them from us. So it's, a lot of the times, it's easier to just kind of get it from, 1 or 2 doses from Woburn Pediatrics or whoever, rather than ordering a bunch of them and then having them sit in our
It's really good. And they probably want to get rid of them too, right?
Yeah, right.
That's great. Awesome.
Good. I have no questions. Does anybody else? So we need well, let's just move on. Now we at the Susan Luminello, Director of Public Health. is there anything, I'd like you to brief us on a number of things. First, the health fair. Second, talk to us about the grant that you called me about, and we jumped right on that. And
Yes. So, the health fair, like we said, is scheduled for the 21st. Hopefully we'll have good weather that day. Mike's been working with Sarah in the office, trying to get everything together. So I hope you can all come and just check out the vendors and thank them for coming, and, so that would be good. And, the grant is it's called the Public Health Excellence Grant. And I got a phone call from a member of the Massachusetts Health Boards who was trying to get communities together to apply for this grant. So it was an RFP with a very short window, so that's why I had to call the chairman to make sure that, you know, he was on board with us applying for it. It's a shared services grant with other communities. So this person at MHB was trying to get some communities together who have not yet been a part of the grant, which Burlington was one of them. And so we entered into an agreement with Wilmington and Lexington to be part of the shared services grant. And the amount of the grant, well, first of all, you need a lead agency. So again, in consultation with the chairman, we agreed to be the lead agency. So I worked on the application. I had a very short time period, I think, so Friday is when he called me, and the application was due on Tuesday at 12. So
Jeez.
it was a really quick application
Turnaround.
process in budget. So, but the budget can be changed, so we kind of just needed to get something together for the monetary part of it, and that can be modified, you know, once we get granted the funds. So I did have a meeting with Lexington and Wilmington, just to kind of get some ideas of what we would do with the grant money. It's $300,000 a year for 3 years. And part of what we put in it, mainly, it's supposed to be for hiring specialists in different areas to assist, not to do the work that we do, but to augment the work that we do. So one of the things that we talked about was an epidemiologist, because one of the things that I've always wanted to work on, and which is an essential part of public health, is collecting data and figuring out, you know, what programs we need and what we're currently doing. And we have all that, we have data together, but we never had been able to put it all together. So that's something that we put in there. Lexington was very interested in that because they're looking at accreditation for the health department, and the accreditation process is very complicated, very long, very complex, and part of it is that you have to have the ability to collect data. So that's something that they're interested in. Maybe that might be something that we could do with the epidemiologist. So that's one part of it that we put in. You need to have a shared services representative, somebody who is going to oversee the grant. So we put in for that someone who can help with the budgeting and schedule the meetings for the different communities. We put in for someone for that. We put in for emergency coordinator, someone who can help out with our emergency plans, or maybe we can do a regional with Wilmington and Lexington shelter, or some kind of sharing in that way in an emergency situation. So we kind of tossed around some ideas. We put in the application. Hopefully it will get granted. I think it will. 3 communities is rarer because most of the time they want 5, but they did go to DPH, and DPH said it would be fine, with the possibility of maybe adding in another community later on. So one of the communities that we also talked to was Waltham. They were a little leery. She hadn't talked to her board and was unsure whether the board would go with it. So maybe Waltham might join us at a later date, because they're ones that have not entered into this type of agreement. Woburn was another one that possibly, they said that they were not interested at all. But maybe in the future they might be. So it has to be a bordering town. So the idea is to kind of have towns that are bordering each other together in this grant. One of the other things that I believe, or that MAHB believes is going to happen is, this is the new way that DPH is gonna funnel money to public health. It's gonna come through this shared services agreements. So if you're not in one, then you're gonna have no way to kind of get those funds that are available for public health in the future. This is just the beginning. So the expectation is that any additional funds for public health will come through this way too. So we'll already be entered into the agreement.
Now, as a lead community, you mentioned we get an extra $45,000 per year.
So, yeah, so for being the lead agency, that's also part of the grant. You get 10% of the total award amount, which is $45,000 for $300,000, that basically we can decide what we want to do within Burlington with that, so.
Which gives us a total of $1,035,000 over 3 years. And it's quite a grant.
That's huge.
That's
So-
huge.
So is that just for us, or does the other towns
That's
get their
split
own?
between-
So it
grants, or-
isn't like you say, it's not like you split the money, 100,000 for you, 100,
Right.
we're coming together and
And say,
agreeing
how do
on
you
what we're
spend
gonna
it?
spend it on.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, I think, when we had our initial discussions, it went really well.
And they all agree that should be spent on Burlington?
All
What
of
were
it.
the other two towns that
I've had a lot of
partnering
experience
with,
with
or shared servicing with?
Wilmington and Lexington.
I've had experience with the chairman in Wilmington, and he is very bright, and I'm very happy we'll be working with him. But that'll also give us $135,000 for additional monies just for this town. So I think it's amazing. It's an
Yeah, it's
amazing opportunity, and
What are you gonna learn?
Do all the towns have to be working towards the same?
no.
Okay.
No, we have the ability, the three of us to get together, and say, okay, we
This
need
is
an
what we need, this
epidemiologist.
is what we need.
We'll hire a full-time epidemiologist, and they'll spread themselves over the three
Oh,
communities.
I see,
Yeah.
okay.
But, so because we're the lead agency, we're gonna be doing a lot of the work, because they can't be like a subcontractor, they have to be like an employee. They'll be an employee of the coalition. We have, they came up with the name Tri-Ton Coalition, that's the name of it. So they'll be an employee of the coalition, in working for the three agencies, but Burlington will be the lead community. So we have to use our HR department, they're gonna be getting paid through Burlington. That's what the coordinator would do. We'll do all the payroll for them, managing the budget, paying out their mileage, things like that. So,
Once you're approved, do you renew it every 3 years?
yeah, every 3 years, you just go back and resubmit an
The
application.
funding is guaranteed for 3 years.
3 years, yeah, the $300,000 a year for 3 years.
Now, I did speak with Mr. Sagarino, and he's very much in support of this. I also spoke to him about the possibility of taking more real estate on the second floor. And I told him I needed it, and we're gonna get into discussions.
You're gonna cause a mutiny, Ed.
Oh, gosh.
I keep taking rooms, as you know.
No, I know,
But we're using them, my gosh. We have an office for our associate director. No, it would really be nice if we could take one more storage room, and then we could then be able to lock the department, two outside, they'll lock the department. And that would be something that I think that if we're going to be working with two other communities, we need to do that, increase the security. We would lock the department, and we would.
Like a psychiatric ward?
I would know about those things. Tell me about it. Oh, my gosh.
So will any of that money have to be used for salaries?
Yeah, that's that's the
It's-
main thing that
okay.
that's what they really want you to use it for, is for salaries, and so that you can get services back for the.
To the community, so
Yeah.
what services do we need?
Now, one of the things that, does concern me is finding qualified people to fill these positions, so.
That's tricky.
I don't know, that might take a while.
Now, do you want a vote from us to support this endeavor?
That would be nice, yeah.
And we can
I
do
think we
this.
should.
I would like to propose, as long as, that the five of us, or the four, or whomever, that we vote to support this grant, and I keep dropping things.
Throwing things
Grant proposal and the subsequent lead in this tri-town?
Triton.
Triton.
Triton. Lexington came up with that.
Lexington, Burlington.
But one other thing too on it is the MAHB is willing to come to, because they want communities to do this, because it's good for public health. He's willing to come to a board meeting too, so for a presentation to talk about it. So I can ask him to do that too, if you want me to do that as well. Once we get it, have him come and talk a little bit more about it.
I think maybe we should have a forum, invite the community to it. I think that would be very nice. So, to that end, would someone please, I entertain that someone please make a motion. I gotta say how we will put this, that the Board of Health formally approves the submission of a grant, the proposed grant submitted by the
Director.
director, you wanted the whole board, the Director of Public Health, for the Triton, we'll call it Triton Initiative.
Collaboration.
Collaboration.
Coalition? Collaboration.
Collaborative.
Collaboration would be fine.
Yeah.
How many other collaborations are there already existing? Do you know?
So if you look at the map, so MAHB, and he could show that to you and tell you what they are, but there's most communities have entered into them, and so they have a map, and
Okay.
most of them is colored, and then there's a few that are not colored. And that especially after this round,
Okay.
the map is gonna be mostly colored after this
Okay.
round. They already had a previous round, and there's been some difficulty with getting the communication out, because I didn't even know that they had an RFR out, like DPH never sent it out. So if MAHB hadn't contacted me, I wouldn't even have known about it, to do
Okay.
this. So he was looking at those areas of the map that still had not entered into it, and he was reaching out to them. So, but there are some of them that have like 7 communities, and you still just get the $300,000. So it's $300,000 no matter how many communities enter
These
into
come
the
together,
agreement.
interesting.
Yeah, so.
Does our recording secretary have that?
It's a lot.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's a lot. So I have them, do I have a motion? We'd like to propose that motion?
Did you make the motion?
No, I can't
So
make
moved.
motions.
Oh,
So moved, Ms. McSweeney, second by Mary Beth Welch. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So it's 5-0, you have full
Thank you.
support of the board.
Nice work, Susan.
Very
That's
nice.
good.
Thank you.
That's great.
Is there anything else you want to highlight before we ask questions?
Yeah, one other thing, so just back on the biosafety thing, Christine and Mike and I have been meeting on a weekly basis, and that's probably going to continue. So, because this is the regulations are fairly new to us, COVID, we didn't have a lot of time, now we're getting a lot of applications in. So we're looking at our applications, our forms, and in our process, so that.
Biotechnology.
Yeah, for looking at these applications that come in and what they're doing and how we're doing it. So we want to make sure that we're consistent in how we look at these applications, and making sure that, we've created checklists and looked at the regulations, making sure that everything that's required in the regulations is what is being submitted. So those 2 letters, those are that were included in my report. That came out of our meetings. All 3 of us reviewed each of those applications, discussed what we thought was missing, discussed what needed to be, put into this letter, and then we sent the letter out. I did receive the responses back today. So we're having, our meetings are usually on Thursday, we're looking at those now, we'll discuss that on Thursday, see, if there's anything else, if we got everything we needed, And then at that point is when I'll put them on the agenda for the Board of Health. And I'm also looking, one of the other things that we're looking at that Mike created was a guideline for them with regards to when they come to a board meeting, what they should be talking about. Because in the regulations, it's very specific. You come to a board meeting, these are the things you present to the board. Sometimes they get a little off on what they're talking about, so we want to make sure we're keeping them on track with certain things that need to be touched upon. So Mike created a presentation example for them, and one of the things that we're going to be asking for as part of the application process is that presentation. So before you come get on the Board of Health agenda, we want to make sure you're touching on each one of those things before they even get here. So it's something, it's a work in progress. We're trying to, it's a lot of work for all three of us, and we're trying to make sure we're all on the same page. Where these, as you know, these are all coming in fairly quickly. We're gonna have to, we may have to split it up where the three of us are sitting on IBCs or reviewing applications, but right now, what I wanna focus on is that we're all doing it the same way.
Is there a point, and maybe this is more rhetorical or something we go back and talk about, is there a point where we say stop, or there's too many, or we need to
We're full.
add more staff? And maybe that's a question for the board too, right? Is there a point where we only want, and I'm making this up, 200 biotech in Burlington, right? Like, is there a point where there's too many, both to support before we need to add more staff, or is there just too many just in general in town?
I think the most of the work comes with the initial application and not so much with the renewal, because they have the same protocols. The protocols don't change too often, where that they would have to come back to the board. So they get their application. So let's take Leahy, for example. They've been doing the same work for years.
Yeah.
You know, we know it. It's basically, it's established. We know what they're doing. We go to the IBC on a yearly basis, and we do the site walkthrough as part of the IBC. Nothing has really changed. Not a whole lot of work there. It's when the initial applications come in and we're reviewing them. So once we get them in, I mean, at some point, maybe we might need to look at, okay, between the three of us, can we sit on all these IBCs? Maybe then we might want to look at changing the regulations and saying, well, Board of Health is not going to sit on an IBC, but it'll just be the community rep or something like that. But that, I don't think we've gotten, you know, of course we haven't gotten to that point yet. But that could maybe something that we, in the future, if it continues to be like that we have to look at something like that. But I think it's just this initial, it's kind of like a rush, you know, and we have to, that's why I want to get this process in place, so it's more streamlined. Like our application, it says specifically on it, these are the things you have to have, so that we're not digging through protocols trying to find those things.
It's in there.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that when they give us the material, everything is there up front, so we don't have to actually go and search for it, because sometimes that takes a long time, or we're calling them back saying, we need this, we need that, you know, so this way, it should be a better process so that we can kind of streamline them as they're coming in.
That's good before they come before us too. Like you said, they can't get on the agenda.
And
that checklist.
And I have asked Susan, especially, and I think there's a key company who wants to come to Burlington, that I've asked, maybe you should involve, at least put on paper, that they may be called to a subcommittee meeting. There's one of those companies that I am not comfortable with right now. I haven't seen what they have sent today, but I'm not comfortable with what they have proposed, and nor do I understand something that is atypical within the application. Now, I'm sure that they explained it, or they hopefully explained it, but I still believe that we need a subcommittee discussion prior to them coming to here.
So we can do that for that one, and our standing subcommittee, we're trying to make Wednesdays at 5:30. So if
Of
could
course,
do it-
I would have to be on that one because
Are you available next week, Wednesday at 5:30?
yes, I am.
Okay.
That would be the 18th.
Yeah,
Right,
we already had
and-
one.
But I would like to read all that material prior
Is that
to,
David and I am?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to read all that material, and I want to make some call. Maybe after I read it, I want to maybe call Washington and speak to NIH or speak to CDC about it.
So we could have you, actually, I can either send you the material so that you can review it, and then you can let me know if you have any questions, and then, so we haven't even looked at it yet.
And if they're not ready by next
Response.
Wednesday, we can wait till the
Yeah,
following Wednesday.
yeah.
I don't want to, I just think that one of them, and I know you've read them all, one of them is atypical. They propose something that I have not been working with, a 2+ situation. I don't know exactly what that means, but I do have people in Washington that I can call and talk to about that, because I always want to feel comfortable about the companies coming to this community. And I have the background, so if I
Yeah,
have to link those
I'll
calls.
send that, we'll
Or
send
set
that
up a
material
conference
to,
call.
I'll send the
I have-
material to you, and you can take a look at it.
And,
At the same time that we are.
At the same time, as you,
Yeah, yeah.
if would you please, I'll be gone till Monday this week, but please send to my email. I'll have plenty of time to look at it. So, and then I have one other question, if anyone else wants to talk about this. Okay. And you know what, we don't have to limit ourselves, do we, to a subcommittee of 2 people? Could we have a third if we're necessary?
No, because then you got a quorum.
Then you have a quorum, then we could have a special meeting if we had to.
Yeah, then it's a Board of Health meeting.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If I feel uncomfortable, then we'll have you gonna be on it with me?
I'm on the one with David next week.
David next week. Is there someone who would like to spend the time on that? It's
Biosafety.
on this
18th?
particular issue.
Well,
We
staff
can-
can't.
If you're available, sometimes, Gail said sometimes she's available during the day, so if it was Gail, it wouldn't have to be at night if she was available
That would
during
be
the
in
day.
the summer. That was in the summer.
After June.
Okay. All right, well, if someone wants to, it is pretty technical.
Or I might be able to be available a little earlier than
Like
5:30.
3 or something, or 4.
It depends on the day.
Yeah, we could work it out.
Okay, well, I do want to talk to
Okay.
that one company.
Well, if you have concerns after review the material, then we'll talk about a subcommittee.
Yeah, either. I just have concerns about that particular one. I have now for 2 weeks, because they hadn't responded to you. Okay, one other question, any other questions? What about a 15 Wellesley Ave auction?
Yeah, so that's a house that's condemned, has been condemned. We condemned it back, it was Sharon, so
Yeah,
that
way back.
was, I think it was 2010 or 11. And it's now become property of the town for the unpaid taxes, and the town is putting it up for auction.
Is that the one near the reservoir?
Yeah.
Okay. There are notices all over town about this particular auction. The house is in disrepair,
Unsafe to enter.
unsafe to
Yeah,
enter.
yeah.
Okay.
So I remember this a long time ago, very long time ago. Okay, if no other questions, do I have a motion to approve the Director of Public Health report, and that also involves the supervisory nurse and associate health inspector?
Have a motion to approve.
I have a motion approved by Andrew Sheehan, second by,
I second.
did you?
I second.
Okay, Gail Demore, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. I guess that's it. Anything else anyone would like to speak?
Mr. Chair, and I say this every once in a while, and you actually say it almost every meeting, but I can't believe the job that our staff does for this community. I mean, we just even tonight, and I don't say this haphazardly or, because I don't, I truly mean this, like, we went from grease traps to swimming pools to biotechnology to approving subdivision. I mean, you guys do a tremendous amount of work to keep this community safe. I don't think the town outwardly understands the amount of things that we touch in town and what we do to keep the town safe, from our restaurants to our pools, to our biotechnology, to drainage, and just to commend the staff on the job that you do on a regular basis, so thank you.
Thank you. I say it every single week. Thank you for all that you do. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Andrew Sheehan, second by Mary Beth Welch. All in favor? Aye. 500. Good night, everybody. And come to our health fair, May 21st, from 10 a.m. till 1 a.m., till 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. I'll have all 10 p.m., 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. And we have 50 or so companies, services. It'll be, it's amazing. We're back to normalcy. Good night, everybody.